Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to week number 19 of 2021's GT Sport Daily Race C Strategy Guide. We are heading to California, I believe, where WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway is located, and we're in the Group 3 machinery. So here's the detailed settings for this race on the screen. Fuel consumption at times 2, which won't be an issue. Tyre wear fairly high at times 10, and it's the racing medium and the racing hard tyres that are available for this one. Now, I have seen a few people have a little bit of a moan about this car track combo on various discords, etc. It has been a wee while, believe it or not, since we last visited here in Group 3. I actually looked back through the previous strategy guides and it was just around about 6 months on the dot. On that occasion it was just the hard tyres that were available. It was a no-stop strategy. At least this time we've got the medium tyres available as well, which will give the race a little bit more of a different dynamic. So let's jump on board, and on this occasion we literally are jumping on board because we are in cockpit view. As you can see up in the top right hand corner there, it's the car of choice. It is the Toyota FT1 that we've chosen for this one. Now there is a couple of reasons we've chosen this car. It has a very nice cockpit view, I think you might agree, and it has an absolutely superb sounding engine. It's one of these cars that sounds completely different within the cockpit view as compared to any of the others, so that's why we've chosen this car. It's not necessarily the quickest, although it is fairly handy around here. It is a pretty decent FR handling car, and it's pretty good on the tyres, which is going to be vital for this race. So we are doing this slightly different. We are in the cockpit view. On my last stream, I actually streamed the Group 2 race at Fuji within the cockpit view, and I have decided that I'm pretty much permanently going to race all the time within cockpit view from now on. So that is going to be a change to some of the footage you're going to see on these strategy guides, and hopefully that is a change for the positive. I much more enjoy the game. It's given the game a little bit of a different lease of life for me, racing in cockpit view now. I'm not as quick, that's for sure, but with enough laps and practice we should get there. With that said, let's move on to take a look at the strategy. So we're on the medium tyres here. I did some running on the hard tyres prior to jumping on the medium tyres here. The benchmark lap time where I had to get my medium tyres to was 1:23.2. So I knew if I was going to go any slower than a 1:23, it would be time to move on to those hard tyres. And as we jump forward here to lap number 6, you can see our first 5 laps we have managed to fall under the 1:23 marker. Got up to the second checkpoint here though. We're 8 tenths down. We're probably going to lose a couple of tenths within this sector as well. We are hitting that point where we're going to be slower on these medium tyres than we would be on fresh hard tyres. So in my opinion, it was time to come into the pit lane. And that gives us a chance to take a look at the pit loss and discuss the fuel. And of course it is Laguna Seca, so the pit loss is very long. Now even before the changes to the pit loss, Laguna Seca had a fairly lengthy pit loss in the region of around about 20 seconds. It's a little bit longer now with the changes. As you can see, we're still looking at the pit crew waiting on the car coming into the box. Eventually after 25 seconds or so it makes it there. We'll be stationary for about 6 seconds, and as we leave the pit lane we've got to go down the pit lane all the way to the exit of turn number 2. All in all, we lose 25 seconds on the track making a pit stop. Fuel is no issue whatsoever as expected. So the 20-minute race, fuel's only at times 2, not surprisingly fuel is not a problem. Now do be careful as you come out the pits on the hard tyres. You will have very low grip for the first couple of corners, possibly catch you out. Laguna Seca, a fairly unforgiving track as we'll look at later, so you do not want to be running wide. So just a little bit of caution as you come out the pits on your cold hard tyres. However, what sort of performance do we get from our hard tyres once they are up to speed? We'll jump forward here all the way to lap number 13. We've got the lap times up there on the right hand side of the screen. You can see our first few laps on the hard tyres are 1:23.0, followed by another 1:23.0, and then we did a very handy lap of a 1:22.5. So I reckon on lap number 6 we're heading to maybe a 1:23.2, maybe a 1:23.3. So definitely made the right choice to pit at the end of lap number 6. Get onto those hard tyres because we are actually going to be faster. So lap 6 looks to me to be around about the optimal lap for changing from the mediums onto the hards. Lap number 11 was a bad one. We kind of got stuck behind the AI car for a couple of corners. The hard tyres do start to degrade over the last couple of laps, but nothing too dramatic, finishing there with a 1:23.3. Finishing time on the screen there, 18 minutes 29.8. So a fairly short race C compared to the last couple of weeks where I think we were over the 20-minute mark on both occasions. So let's move on to the alternative strategy, and we've actually had a little bit of a change of car. Now I wouldn't normally do this, but just to get a feel for a few different cars around the track, I changed from the Toyota FT1 into the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo. Should be a pretty handy car around here, along with the Subaru WRX. These cars are FR based, so they've got good stability, but they're very good at handling, very good traction out the corners. And the last couple of times we visited here, certainly the WRX was pretty strong. We're in its very close counterpart of the Mitsubishi Evo. And we're going to jump forward here to lap number 13 as we move under the bridge. So what we've done here is we started on the hard tyres, which is what you would normally do if you're going to be starting in the mid-pack or towards the rear of the grid. And I really wanted to just pit a little bit earlier just to see how long we could get the medium tyres to last. So we actually pitted at the end of lap number 5, so we're asking 8 laps of the mediums. Now looking at the lap times there, lap number 7 was our first flying lap, a 1:21.7. I'm not entirely sure what happened in lap number 8, but we lost a lot of time. The tyres stayed fairly steady through to lap number 10. Lap number 11 was severely compromised by the AI car, but the medium tyres will hold on for those 8 laps. I think we finished with a 1:23.2 maybe, something along those lines. In fact, a 1:23.1, so we are 1.4 seconds slower than our fastest lap, but still very, very similar lap times to what we were doing in the Toyota with the hard tyres at the end of the race. So from what I can tell, 8 laps is easily possible on the medium tyres, and maybe even a little bit more, which we'll discuss when we sort of look at all the data on screen. Before we get there though, let's discuss Laguna Seca as a circuit, or as I have up on the screen there, Leafo Laguna. Now, Laguna Seca is a circuit that takes no prisoners. It's all sand on the edge, there's very little concrete runoff, so if you run wide you are asking for trouble. Very likely you're going to spin off and lose a lot of time. You're just looking at a compilation of various accidents I had over the course of making this video, and you can see some of them actually quite severe, and I ended up miles off the track on this occasion. So what I'm trying to get at here is, I've always said that you should always kind of approach your race pace different to your qualifying pace, but on certain circuits that is more beneficial than others, and Laguna Seca is definitely one of those. Just dial it down to 95%, cut out the mistakes, let everybody else have them, and if you can just keep the car on the island for the 13 laps, you're probably going to make up a good number of positions. So that's my advice for this one in terms of how to approach the race. Let's discuss the finer elements of the strategy as we put all the information up on the screen. Now, there's not as much information up on the screen as I would normally put at this point. A few technical issues causing me problems. It seems if I put too much information up on this screen, we get the very jerky cars that we had in the last strategy guide. So we've had to try and avoid that and put a little bit less information up there. But let's go through it piece by piece. So it is a one-stop strategy, of course. That is as long as both tyres are mandatory. Now, it's been a long time since they didn't make both tyres mandatory, so I think going forward or from now on we just have to assume that both tyres are going to be mandatory. If it happens to only be the hard tyres that are mandatory, then it is a no-stopper on the hard tyres, and look after those said hard tyres. It will be both that are mandatory though. I'm 99.9% sure that will be the case. So option A is you start on the medium tyres. 6 laps looks around about the optimal, but if you're good on your tyres, maybe on a good car on tyre, something like the Beetle or the Mazda RX Vision, you could maybe stretch that out to 8 laps, just depending on the race circumstances, and give yourself a shorter stint on the hard tyres. The hard tyres will have no issues regardless of whether you're looking to do 8 or 9 or as little as 5 laps on them. Obviously you won't be doing that strategy if you're starting towards the front of the grid. You need to be able to maximise the potential of those medium tyres. There's no point doing it if you're in the mid-pack, because you'll just lose time fighting with other drivers who are probably on the hard tyres. Option B is to start on the hard tyres and then finish on the mediums. Now, we've already tested there, we can definitely get 8 laps out of the medium tyres fairly comfortable. I reckon if you're really wanting to kind of push the boat out in the medium tyres, you could go as far as 10. Not everybody's going to be capable of that. Certainly the pad players, I think maybe doing 10 laps in the mediums will not be an option, but certainly if you're on the wheel and you're just quite good at looking after those precious medium tyres, 10 laps will be possible. They will be ruined by the end of the race, but in terms of making a big undercut, you should be able to hold on and still have just about enough grip to bring the car home. See far too many people starting on the hard tyres, getting embroiled in massive amounts of fighting and just carrying on for another couple of laps, losing 3-4 seconds a lap instead of going into the pits, and then just enduring the pain at the end with the tyre wear. So that's the strategy. I put a few recommended cars up there. I'm never very good at guessing what's going to be the best cars for any combo, but the Mitsubishi Evo and the Subaru should be pretty strong. The Lexus from 2016 is surprisingly good on handling circuits. I think the Beetle will be strong. I think the Toyota FT1's not too bad. The Mazda RX Vision and the RCZ should be capable as well. However, let's finish the video as always with the lap guide. We're in the Toyota FT1 again. We're heading down towards turn at number 1 and we're looking for the number 3 marker as we approach turn number 1. Braking just before that, I find a tighter line and keeping it nice and tight over those two apexes is quicker. Cut into turn at number 3, looking for the number 2 board. It's between the 1 and 2 board. Very tricky corner. Avoid the sausage on the inside. End of the curve for turn at number 4 here. Be careful not to run wide. Try and clip that curb on the inside for the best line. Looking for the number 2 board as your brake reference for turn number 5. Catch that camber on the inside. It will help bring the car round, although it is still easy to drift wide and end up in the sand. Approaching turn number 6, extremely tricky turn. Marker number 2 is your reference. Turn it in with a lot of confidence, but do avoid that sausage curb, but it will push you out into the sand and the wall. As we approach the corkscrew, the track will darken. That's your kind of reference as you brake. You won't be braking in a straight line. Catch as much of that curb on the inside as you can. Be careful on the throttle. As you go down the hill, the car will go light. It's easy to get on the throttle too early and spin. Avoiding the sausage curb for the left-hander. Into the right-hander here, it's the end of the curve as your braking reference. Again, you're just looking to try and catch the camber for a lot of these corners. It will help bring the car round. And the number 3 board is your reference marker for the final turn. Keep it tight to the apex, get the car nice and straight, accelerate out, and you'll carry that speed all the way down the start-finish straight. And that's a lap of Laguna Seca in the Toyota FT1 with the brake balance at -2. So all in all, a fairly interesting race in prospect with the tyre wear and the strategy and that long pit loss. The times 10 tyre wear does sound a little bit scary, but it's honestly not as bad as it sounds. It kinda actually works because it means that the hard tyre is actually meaningful in this one, so they're just running the whole race on the medium tyre, which can often be the case in these two compound races. Though I do understand a lot of people are a little bit unhappy that this is the combination. I get it, there's so many more fresh combos out there that PD haven't done, but this is an entertaining race, so I'm quite looking forward to it myself. Anyway, hopefully this guide has been useful. Hopefully there's some useful information there to help you get started before you plunge into the deep end. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this race, how you're getting on. Please do hit that like button, please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching. If you've made it to this point, you are a star, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye now.